Lupin drives out to the wilderness to meet someone. This someone shoots him in the head. It's just ketchup, mind you, as part of a bet between Fujiko and a man named Almighty to see whether Lupin or the would-be killer, Tiger, will win in a fight to the death. The prize is a chunk of diamond ore, and Almighty won't take no for an answer. Lupin's forced to ditch his car thanks to a few good shots from Tiger's helicopter, and races back to his hideout on foot for help. His first step is to consult Jigen, but this turns out to be Tiger in disguise. Worse still, Lupin can't seem to shake him. Eventually he comes across a tape message informing him this was just a warning. And then it explodes. It happens. As Lupin recuperates, Jigen informs him that he's never heard of Tiger before now. Goemon suspects there's some kind of trick to his abilities, so Lupin intends to find out what, taking the direct approach. Lupin meets Tiger in a field and they begin their battle once again. Tiger is able to pop up behind Lupin no matter what and causes him to waste his ammo. Lupin ends up at a cliff edge and Tiger takes aim. It's then revealed that Tiger has a twin brother and that Lupin was watching. He survived thanks to Jigen and Goemon's efforts. Almighty gloats to Fujiko about his victory just as Zenigata arrives, informing him Lupin has sent a calling card. Right on cue, Lupin calls Almighty to tell him he plans to steal the diamond ore. Security's tight, but Lupin decides to just charge through it all. Tiger is led away, unaware that Jigen and Goemon are keeping watch, spotting the twin on the road below the highway. Jigen gets Zenigata out the way with a giant magnet, and Tiger is led to a theme park. Lupin tries to trick Tiger by pretending to be the twin. Tiger isn't fooled thanks to twin telepathy, and chases him into a hall of mirrors. The twins decide to split up, but neither is able to hit the real Lupin. They both seemingly spot Lupin in front of them and take aim. Unfortunately, while Lupin was indeed in front of both, it was a reflection they shot, meaning they just killed each other. Oh, and one of the Lupins was actually Jigen. Back at Almighty's, Fujiko gloats over her victory, but Lupin arrives to take the ore for himself. Not the first time we've seen an antagonist make use of a twin, but still makes for a good episode even if the title overhypes it a bit. It was nice to see Lupin making use of disguises to fool them right back in the climax. Plus Fujiko got her comeuppance for dragging Lupin into this mess, though knowing Lupin he'd probably still give her the diamond if she begged enough. While on the way to a conference, Zenigata is tripped up by a cleaner. Said cleaner is Fujiko, who plants a bug on him to listen in. He learns from the man he's meeting, Carbell, and his general Bosmark, that Lupin apparently stole a camera. The camera's inventor, Harbell, insists with the others that there is nothing out of the ordinary about it, much to Zenigata's suspicion. The gang are currently hanging out at the racetrack. Goemon has his eye on a horse named Goemon Joe in an upcoming race for obvious reasons, but Jigen notes that that particular horse seems to be injured. They spot a pair of men, who've already been winning big, photographing the finish line for some reason but pay it little mind. Despite the supposed injuries, the horse manages to pull ahead and win. Lupin heads to the betting window to cash in, but the woman on the other side is a disguised Zenigata. Jigen is also caught, but Goemon stepped out earlier. Carbell puts Lupin and Jigen through torture interrogation, despite Zenigata insisting that Lupin has no idea about the camera. Meanwhile, the men with the camera pick up a disguised Fujiko and plan to have a good time with her. She drugs them and takes the camera for herself. Goemon attacks the facility Lupin is held at and breaks him and Jigen out. Lupin vows to find this camera, and Goemon finds a newspaper article detailing Fujiko winning big at several venues. She's unaware that a waiter slips the camera out of her possession as she wins big at the roulette wheel. Soon afterwards she's arrested by Carbell. Lupin, who was the waiter that slipped the camera away, tries it out by taking a photo of Jigen just before he's about to take a shower. The photo ends up being Jigen showering. They spot a timer on the camera set to 3 minutes ahead and realise this camera can take photos of the future after setting it to 100 years ahead. They have a bit of fun playing around with it, but this is interrupted by Harbel being pursued by the police. They get ahead of the police and Goemon slices them up. Harbel explains to the gang that he created the camera using tachyons, while trying to create a camera that could see the past for interrogation purposes. Zenigata grows sick of Fujiko being tortured and stops them, attacking Bosmark. Bosmark is revealed to be a robot, and Harbel threatens to kill Zenigata for learning of this. Zenigata escapes with Fujiko and spots Lupin coming to help out. Bosmark catches up and takes Zenigata down. Lupin meets with Harbel on the roof and agrees to an exchange of Fujiko and Zenigata for Harbel and the camera. Lupin tosses them the camera and Harbel is scared by a toy rat that springs out, rat being a childhood phobia of Harbel's. Lupin tells Zenigata to take the chance and he escapes. Bosmark malfunctions as he tries to attack, smashing the camera underfoot, and as the gang make their getaway he slips away with only Zenigata's trousers. The weight is still too much, so they're forced to land on an island that turns out to be a nudist colony. Once more into the more out there ideas for a story. If not for the camera, then for the robot general at any rate. Still, it made for an entertaining episode, and once again we see that Zenigata does like to play it fair with the gang. Not to mention actually showing some competence, given he manages to fight off Bosmark a few times. Lupin and Jigen are touring New York when they run into Zenigata. Thankfully they escape with the help of hanging clothes and a nearby car. A woman in the car who seems to know Jigen asks if he's interested in stealing a valuable diamond, but shrugs him off as third rate while doing so. She ejects them and they discover from a newspaper that the woman, Catherine Molov, is the owner of said diamond. On the road, Jigen explains that Catherine was an old acquaintance he knew from her days as a dancer. Jigen considers taking the job right as they get surrounded by a convoy. The convoy leads them to Catherine's house. Catherine is surprisingly helpful, but Jigen refuses to be practically handed the diamond. As the gang leaves, she faints at her table. The gang make their move at night, making sure to avoid the mansion's laser security. Unfortunately, the lasers move around and security catches them anyway. The gang decide to escape, but a missile launcher fires upon them as they do so. As Lupin and Jigen argue over whether it was wise to ditch the plans Catherine gave them, Fujiko arrives to help. She flies her balloon over the mansion and Lupin activates a diamond detector to lead them straight to it. The gang end up in a greenhouse on their trail. As they pass through, Catherine floods and freezes it. Thankfully, Goemon's on hand to cut them free. Zenigata joins the security as Jigen decides to try sniping for the diamond and wrecking the security controls. He pauses upon seeing an old photo of himself. He then flashes back to a point when he was forced to abandon Catherine to protect her from his hitman life. Due to this, Jigen decides a direct approach is still the way to go. The gang sneak into Zenigata's security as part of the roll call. This is thwarted due to the actual security having numbers on their shoes. The gang are chased and end up falling through a trapdoor. Fujiko tends to Catherine, who admits she's tired of living in her current state. Lupin wakes up in a room with a wall lined with the aliens from Space Invaders. The safe is also here, as confirmed by the diamond detector. Catherine contacts them as an arcade cabinet opens, telling them they need to win 3 rounds of Space Invaders to open the safe, while failing 3 times will mean their death. Bottle of Shasta and All Rush mixtape at the ready, Lupin steps up to the challenge. He wins a round, but then the invaders jut out from the wall and cost him a life. Jigen takes over, taking out a bonus ship, but getting shot with a laser and losing another life. Lupin smacks one of the wall invaders with his detector and has an idea as the device's magnet is exposed. He runs the magnet across the arcade machine, shorting it out and opening the safe as a result. A door opens to Catherine's room upon retrieving the diamond, where she congratulates them. Jigen is left alone with her and she tells him she's reliant on blood transfusions to live, but even then doesn't have long left. She says she was happy to see him again, but Jigen is more annoyed that she has to die like this. He runs off saying goodbye, joining the rest of the gang for wherever they go next. As mentioned before, if Jigen has a love interest, it ends in tragedy for him. This one was at least amicable compared to previous times, if nothing else. The Safeguarded by Space Invaders is certainly a different way of guarding a treasure too. If not for the trap, I could see the gang still managing to win at the game anyway. Goemon approaches a guitarist asking for directions to a hot spring. Despite sensing a murderous intent, the man points Goemon in the right direction. A woman joins the man and they confirm that Goemon is who he is, planning to use him to get their real target. Said target is Lupin, as they aim to become known as the Wolf and Rose #1 assassins. As Goemon sings YMCA in the spring, not even kidding there, they make their attack. Rose hides Zantetsuken and manages to exploit Goemon's shyness around women to stab him with a tranquilizer. Meanwhile, Lupin is playing with a bath toy when Jigen informs him Goemon's missing. Lupin initially shrugs it off, but Jigen notes that he found Zantetsuken. Wolf and Rose wait outside as Zenigata makes his way to the hideout. Wolf takes aim with his guitar/sniper rifle as Lupin exchanges pleasantries. Due to the window shutter being reinforced, neither Wolf nor the police can take the shot, however. A hot air balloon surfaces and Zenigata jumps aboard. This turns out to be a mistake as there are only decoys aboard. Lupin and Jigen then seemingly escape by speedboat. Wolf takes the shot, but it turns out to be another decoy. Thanks to this, Lupin's now aware of someone being after him. Rose is taken to torturing Goemon for info on Lupin's weaknesses, but he simply laughs in her face. Wolf tries reasoning that he isn't their target, but when refused he resorts to electric guitar torture. With no clues, Jigen's put the word out as to Lupin's location to draw out any assassins. This reaches Wolf and Rose as the latter is trying out some deadly dentistry on Goemon. Wolf warns that this is likely bait, especially as they don't have Lupin's weakness yet. The only visitor Lupin has is Fujiko. They go somewhere more private and we see a certain flower in her hair. Rose tries a few techniques, but Lupin manages to avoid them. He's also able to unmask her, forcing her to flee. Jigen takes aim, but Lupin stops him, reasoning that she'll lead them straight to Goemon. Rosecrest is missing her chance, but Wolf's more concerned at the tracker Lupin planted on her. Goemon then warns that they'll die as soon as he's free. Right on cue, he falls from his chains and Lupin emerges. Lupin's just glad that Goemon's alright, as Goemon reassures him that he wouldn't betray a friend to someone. Lupin's ready to challenge Wolf, but Goemon wants to do it himself despite his injuries. Lupin does decide to even the odds by shooting Wolf's guitar and declaring it a sword duel. Said sword duel is won in one strike. Rose is led in by Jigen and in her grief stabs herself to join Wolf. As the gang leave, Jigen grows curious to Lupin's weakness and what he should say if ever in the same situation. As Lupin brags, Goemon jokes that his weakness is that he has a screw loose and they all laugh about it. Time changes everyone, and it's certainly odd to think that Goemon and Lupin were once enemies. Of course they do come to blows on occasion, but it's nice to see that Goemon wouldn't sell Lupin out, that his grievances with Lupin are his to settle. Not to mention how Lupin keeps his companions in mind even when he doesn't seem to be. On a side note, it's funny to imagine how confusing this episode would be had it been dubbed in the UK during the time when Lupin was called Wolf. Overall, great character study episode on Lupin and Goemon's relationship. Next time, a strange old man, the newest step in X-ray spec technology, a hunt for the Mona Lisa, and a heist to ring in the new year takes us to episode 116. Until then.